Executive Director of the Center.
We have a new Images and Expressions
Society who nominated Lizette Woodworth Reese, who is a longtime educator and famous poet.
Drops those things
Was
that
it
are foreign
for
to us.
candidates, or was it for? Hi, I'm Diana Bailey, Executive Director of the Maryland Women's Heritage Center, and welcome to a special edition of Her Story. And today, I'm thrilled to have Mary Pickersgill with us, very famous in Baltimore, and we're in the Flag House. And so Mary is going to be telling us more about her story, her business, and her contributions to the Baltimore community. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
Mary Pickersgill was in the Hall of Fame, but also very famous for a lot of things in Baltimore, and we'll hear more about that in a minute. Well, let's take a break, and then we'll hear from Mary. Welcome back. And Mary, we're so glad to have you with us here today.
Thank you.
This again is Mary Pickersgill, and we're in the Flag House. But Mary, tell us a little bit about your history with the Flag House and your role in Baltimore and your special story as a very famous Maryland woman.
Oh my goodness. Well, Mother and I own a flag making business here in the city of Baltimore. We have been sewing flags since, oh my goodness, ever since I can remember, as Mother was making flags for the Army during our War for Independence. Here in Baltimore, we have a little shop on Albemarle and Queen Street. We serve anyone who really needs flags, mostly our merchant fleet, a great many ships of our Navy. Fort McHenry does stop by every so often. In fact, I did have that very large commission for Major Armistead. That was, 30 by 42 feet. And it took me extra sewing as he wanted the stripes to be 2 feet wide.
Wow.
But the fabric I had available for making that type of flag was only 18 inches. So I had to do a lot of extra piecing.
Did you do that work by yourself, or you had?
I had some assistance with my daughter. I have an apprentice, an indentured apprentice. Her name is Grace Wisher. She is a free girl. And she's been with me since April of 1810.
How did she come to your household?
Her mother actually was a seamstress, a sewing needlewoman, and I noticed that she brought her daughter every so often, and we discussed the possibility of her learning the art and mystery of housework and plain sewing. So she's a very fine young lady, a very good example to my daughter Caroline. And my 3 nieces, Margaret, Eliza, and Hannah, are also assisting me. So I have a lot of moral support. Although I can't expect them to stay up until midnight as I did those 42 days. But that I do also understand that flag has brought me a lot of business because I have had merchanting captains coming to me and saying I didn't notice that large flag flying from Fort McHenry.
It was a big marketing thing.
It certainly is. Well, Mother insists on marketing, on advertising. She did put advertisements in the Baltimore paper as soon as we arrived, as soon as we opened our business. And that certainly did bring in a great many many clients.
At that time, what did I'm not going to the big flag at Fort McHenry, but what did a normal ship flag, how much money did you make when you made a flag for like a regular ship?
Oh, well, I did make quite enough. I don't normally discuss my pricing, but I can say that we are comfortable. I am able to feed, shelter, and clothe my family and servants. We do have a little left over occasionally. I do treat them to chocolate and coffee, which is delicious. It's very nice when we can afford that. It all depends on the size of the flag, how many they need, how soon they need it. I do charge extra if they want it tomorrow as opposed to next week.
When you had the flag that went to Fort McHenry, that was a very critical time in American history.
Yes, it was.
So why did we get so excited about the flag, and what did that mean to people? And were you surprised that it had such a meaning to them?
I was terribly surprised when Caroline came running in the days after the British had left Fort McHenry with a broadside, and on it was printed a poem by a gentleman named Mr. Francis Scott Key. It was called Defense of Fort McHenry. And as we read through it, she looked up, she says, "Mother, this is about our flag." It was quite exciting, actually. The British were a little less than a mile and a half down to Hampstead Hill. We were waiting for them to march through the streets, and then we realized that they were trying to capture Fort McHenry, and that was a terrible night. No one slept. It was awful. The next morning, it became very, very quiet. And my neighbor, who actually has a finished third floor in his home, was able to climb to the roof and with his spyglass look across after the 9 o'clock gun sounded. And we weren't sure if it was our 9 o'clock gun or if it was the British. But with his spyglass, he could see just barely that my large garrison flag rising. I later understood that the fife and drum played Yankee Doodle as a final salute to the British as they
were leaving the harbor.
As they did, but it was most exciting. I don't think any of us realized that we were holding our breaths until my neighbor said, "Mrs. Pickersgill, it's that flag that you made." So we were quite happy, and there's a great deal of cheering and running around in the streets. So I decided to let the girls have their head and let them do what they wanted that day, because we had spent almost an entire week worrying about what would happen.
Of course.
Mother had already been through that with our war for independence and leaving Philadelphia ahead of the occupation.
Well, on a calmer day, we're going to have a chance to look at some of that footage right now.
My goodness.
We're going to virtual time travel here, right? So we'll be right back so you can see the actual... to see that footage and how the impact it had on Baltimore. But right now, let's talk to Mary. Let's tell us a little bit more about your house and how your everyday life was when your business was in your home as well.
Well, actually, my daughter Caroline and I moved here to Baltimore after my husband John passed away in London. We lived in a very small house on Granby Street. Then my brother John actually discovered that the house on the corner was for rent, and since we had decided to return to a flag making business, and the rooms were a great deal larger, especially the upstairs room, we started renting it, and my goodness, it is quite nice. The upstairs room, it is large, it is private, and we were able to make a goodly number of flags up there, as well as many of the other rooms in the house.
Right.
Each room has more than one purpose, to tell you the truth. In the morning, I tend to rise very early, and I'll have a little bit of tea and toast in the morning, wait for the girls to rise. We decide what we're going to do during the day. Most of the time it'll be huddled together in the front room, sewing. When the girls' tutor comes, of course they'll be...
They were homeschooled, essentially.
Oh, I suppose that would be what it would be called, schooling at home. But they will be doing their reading, writing, and arithmetic, which is very important. Mother insisted that my sister Hannah and I be educated, and I am grateful for that because it does help me with my business.
Of course, and being a widower, you had to have an income, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. We just felt that it was more to our taste to be independent, to be independently a business, as opposed to remarrying and certainly, hopefully, not being destitute. Although there are a great many destitute women in the city of Baltimore, and I'm very concerned for them. I have inquired about a society that assists these women, and I think it is very important that if you are blessed with a skill that you can use, then you should use it, not only for your family, but for others as well. And so I'm sometimes plying my trade down at the docks, selling my flags, speaking with other needlewomen around the city of Baltimore to see to their needs, making sure, of course, my daughter and my nieces, my brother John's daughters, he passed away in 1812, and I have been fostering them since. They're very, very good young ladies, and quite proud of them. But to see to their education and, of course, to their impending future.
Could you, at that time, can you buy the house if you had the money?
Oh, yes, I can.
Oh, you can?
Yes, I most certainly can. I have been saving up a bit. I do need to inquire of the nephews, as the original owner, of course, passed away some years ago, and he passed the ownership of the house to his two nephews. So we are renting to them. But I do. One of the nephews actually has business with me. I do make him flags, and he has an account with us, and it is climbing.
At the time, Baltimore was, it was unusual, I think, for an African-American girl or young woman to live with a white family when she was a free person. Did you get any pushback from that?
Grace is my apprentice. Everyone understands that. In fact, I have a free woman as cook.
Oh, okay.
Matilda is an excellent cook, and I will never part with her. We would not be fed if it were not for her. I'm very happy.
So extended part of your family.
Oh yes, she is a working part of our family. When she is finished with her apprenticeship, that will be in 1816. She will be free to go and do as she pleases, perhaps become a needlewoman, a maid, or a cook. I'm certainly hoping that she has a much brighter future than any who have come before her. She is a very quick-witted young lady.
If you had not been in business for yourself, what other career was interesting to you? Had you ever thought about doing anything else? I realize that at the time and circumstances and from your family, you inherited a lot of skills and experience. What would you maybe like to have?
I would like to have been a bird. That I could fly over it. No, but to do, well, I do remember during our War for Independence, Mother actually ran a boarding home for many American officers, and I truly enjoyed that. Because I could be going up and down the stairs as a small child, meeting people who were doing very important things for our country. I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed the various stories and songs that they would provide us. I suppose.
It's a big learning experience.
Yes, it is. Yes, it was, and it was thrilling. Of course, as a child, anything like that is thrilling. To an adult, you finally realize that it's not exactly what you think it is. It's a little more dangerous, a little more frightening, and quite permanent. So, but to actually meet soldiers, gentlemen in uniform, and just again listen to the tales they tell of the battles and such.
So, what will happen to your business when you retire?
Well, I'm hoping that my daughter Caroline will take it over. I'm truly hoping, though, that when she marries, I can retire. And then if she and her husband decide to stay with the house, then I will let it to her in some years so that she and her husband will have a place to stay.
I know that you also have an interest in older women, particularly widows.
Yes.
So,
Oh, yes, I do. As difficult as it was for me when John passed away, I had a skill that my mother taught me and that I could turn into a trade. Now, it's something that women don't normally do. Women aren't always in business. And those of us who are normally widows. It seems to me that a woman should be able, if she wishes, to be able to take care of herself, to have a skill that she can turn into a trade, no matter what it is, be it running a tavern, the woman who owns the tavern next to Fort McHenry, being a skilled needlewoman, sewing clothing and things, or teaching. We have quite a few children who are in need of good teachers, and then you have others.
The nurses with Hopkins and...
Oh, that would be very interesting, I suppose. I do remember Mother telling me about the women who followed the soldiers, and they were the ones who wound the bandages and cooked the food and such. I've not learned that term. I will think about that. That would be something. Yes, caring for those in need. That's what I do. That's what I think anyone who has a trade does. They care for other people in different ways.
Mary, it'd be great if you could stay a little bit longer because I have more things I want to talk to you about.
Certainly.
We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back, and we're in the fabulous Flag House today. And since it is an actual museum, you may hear other voices of people that are touring the exhibit or enjoying the time with their families. So again, if you hear any touring, that's because we're here at the Flag House today. And Miriam, this has been really interesting for me. I've read some about you and the Flag House, but was there anything else that came to mind that you would like to share with our viewers today?
Oh my goodness.
About your business or about your life in the times?
Well, they are very interesting, to tell you the truth. It is quite wonderful to see the birth of a nation. I had not thought much about it when I was a child, but to create an entirely new country with different attitudes and different people is quite the adventure. I'm quite honored to have participated in a little bit of it.
You had a very special role.
Well, I hope so. I hope it made an impression. I hope that whatever I do might inspire someone else to do something greater, which I suppose is the goal for everyone. You inspire someone who does something greater, who inspires another person to do something even greater. So we are all part of this country, all part of its history.
Well, Well, Mary, thank you so much for all you've done
You're quite
for the
welcome.
United States of America, and to our history for that. And because of Mary's life and contributions, not just for the flag and its use of the Star Spangled Banner and Fort McHenry, but in 2002 of our time, for her work as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, and for her work in the community and working with older women, she was inducted into the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame in 2002. So it took a little while to get you in there, Mary, but you're finally in there with many other Maryland women who did unique things for our state and for our country. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And for more information of other people in the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame, go to our website under the Maryland Women's Heritage Center at www.marylandwomen'sheritagecenter, all one word, .org. Mary, I'm so glad that you're one of our special Her Stories. And to be a member of the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame is also a special recognition that you very much earned, of course.
Thank you.
So thank you so much again. We'll be right back. Welcome back. And I'm here now with Jill, who plays Mary Pickersgill here at the Flag House. So Jill, tell us a little bit how you got involved in this role.
Change classes.
Yes, right. It's part of your actor costume, isn't
There
it?
we go. These used to belong to my great-grandparents.
Oh.
Yes. Hello.
So tell us about you're part of the staff here.
I am.
So how does this work here for when you're trying to project the role of Mary Pickersgill and how she interacted here with the Flag House?
I try and remember what was available at the time, what people did at that time. We don't have a lot of information on the family's day-to-day life, but we do have information on the lives of what other folk did. So, you know, if someone went to market, well, I'm sure Mary's gone to market. If she's taken a trip to Philadelphia to visit her brother, you know, that would come into. And then, of course, I've been sewing for over half a century, so I know a little bit about how to sew. And making flags and such is just, you know,
So you know the
stuff like
vocabulary.
I know the vocabulary and such. And my goal is to not only report Mary's story, to let people know what she contributed, but also to remind folks how much a part of history everyone is. They don't have to be mentioned in the history books, they don't have to be humongously famous, but something very small, like making that huge flag for Fort McHenry. It inspired this guy to write a song. Song became a poem, poem became our national anthem.
Right. It was quite a chain of events.
It was. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think in talking with you too, I realized I have a pretty decent background in history, but I couldn't remember the timeline. I couldn't remember certain things that were then, and so I imagine for young people, even for adults, there's so many gaps in our knowledge of history that this is so important that you're telling the real story here in this concept, but I know for young people, they relate so well to actors. That, you know, they can read what's on the board, but to see a person who looks and feels like Mary makes
That
such
involves all of the senses. If
Right.
you can involve all of the senses, you make a better impression.
Right, and you very much do that. Okay, Mary, tell us, for those people that want to come and visit the center, the Flag House, I know they can find it online, but tell us about what they'll do here, what your hours are.
Oh, certainly. Well, we're at 844 East Pratt Street. We are east of the aquarium at the corner of Pratt Street, right at the beginning of Little Italy. We are open from Tuesday through Saturday, 10 o'clock to 4, and our last tour takes off around 3:15.
Is there parking nearby?
Yes, there is, on the Albemarle Street side of the museum. So.
And I know that the Star Spangled Banner, the Flag House, is part of the network of Baltimore museums. Who are some of your partners in that?
Well, we have next door is the Lewis Museum. We have the Jewish Museum just down the street, around the corner. Carroll Mansion is just up the road here. So it's quite nice, sort of a little museum community.
So if they came to the Flag House and they could see
Oh my goodness,
other
yes.
historic
Come see the historic sites, have lunch in Little Italy, go see more historic sites, have dinner in Little Italy.
Right.
Oh yeah.
all the time, your car is safely parked in a parking garage.
Yep, right across the street.
Right, that's great. Thank you, Mary, for all this information.
She made this huge flag, quite inspiring. In fact, it inspired a gentleman who was on a boat, Mr. Francis Scott Key. Mr. Key came into Fells Point and he wrote a poem. That poem became a song, and the song eventually became our national anthem.
So important. And thank you again for joining us today on our special edition. Executive Director of the Center, and here with me today, from Baltimore originally?
No, I'm
To have a new images and expressions of
Society, who nominated Lizette Woodworth Reese, who is a longtime educator and famous poet.
drops those things
Was
that
it
are foreign
for
to us.
candidates, or was it
Those
for?